Picture this: Mexico, June 2025. A security camera mounted on a bridge above a river canal picks up something at 3:47 in the morning. A woman in white. She's not walking, she's drifting, just above the ground along the water's edge. And then, the audio. A wail, long, hollow, getting closer even as the figure moves away. The footage went viral within 48 hours. Millions of views, thousands of comments asking the same thing. Is it real? But here's what nobody was asking. Why does she keep coming back? Because La Llorona, the weeping woman, has been appearing for over 500 years. Near rivers, near crossroads, near the places where grief has no place to go. And the story most people know, the one where she's a jealous, murderous mother, is not her story. It's the story they told about her. Welcome to The Grave Matters. I'm your host. And tonight, we're not going to talk about a monster. Tonight, we're going to talk about what turns a woman into one. The year is 1509. Tenochtitlan, the great Aztec capital, built on a lake in the middle of what is now Mexico City. Hundreds of thousands of people, temples rising from the water, markets larger than anything in Europe at the time. And at night, something begins to happen. A woman's voice, moving through the city streets, crying out the same words over and over. "My children, we must flee far away from this city." The Nahua people called it an omen, a warning woven into the fabric of a goddess. Cihuacoatl, the serpent woman, the earth mother, protector of women who died in childbirth. Her cry was not the cry of grief, it was the cry of prophecy. This was 10 years before the Spanish arrived. 10 years before Hernán Cortés landed on the shores of Mexico. Before the fall of Tenochtitlan. Before the deaths of millions. The weeping woman did not begin with colonization. She foretold it. So what happened next? The Spanish came, and with them, a different kind of story. The Catholic missionaries who swept through Mesoamerica in the 16th century were very good at one thing: taking an indigenous symbol of power and rewriting it into a symbol of sin. Cihuacoatl, the divine protector, became Maria, a beautiful, foolish woman, a woman who fell in love with a Spanish nobleman, who had children by him out of wedlock, who was abandoned when he married someone of his own class. And in her grief, the story goes, she drowned her own children in the river. Just like that, a goddess became a sinner. A warning became a punishment. A protector became a predator. And the Spanish version was the one that survived, because the Spanish controlled what got written down. Let's look at what the colonial version of La Llorona actually does. It tells women, this is what happens when you love a man above your station. This is what happens when you defy the social order. This is what happens when your emotions are too loud, too large, too uncontrolled. It tells children, behave, or she will take you. It tells men who wander at night near rivers, beware the consequences of your own infidelity. She is coming for you. La Llorona became a tool, a moral control system dressed up as a ghost story. But here's what that story couldn't erase: the grief underneath it. Because her story, stripped of the monster, is the story of a woman who lost everything: her children, her dignity, her place in the world, at the hands of a man who had the power of empire behind him. And she never stopped screaming about it. Scholars in Chicana literature, writers like Gloria Anzaldúa and Sandra Cisneros, spent decades reclaiming her. Anzaldúa wrote that La Llorona is one of the 3 symbolic mothers of Chicanas: not because she killed, but because she refused to be silent about what was done to her. In contemporary murals across Mexico and the American Southwest, she appears not as a monster, but as a guardian. Women painted in bold purples and reds, raising torches. La Llorona reborn as a figure of protest, against femicide, against displacement, against the silence imposed on generations of indigenous women. She didn't become a ghost because she was evil. She became a ghost because she had nowhere else to go. So why do people keep seeing her? Because they do. Thousands of reported encounters across 5 centuries, near rivers in New Mexico, canals in Xochimilco, mountain roads in Guatemala, a juvenile detention facility in California in 1968, where a folklorist documented multiple accounts of a weeping woman haunting the corridors. And now, security camera footage in 2025. Psychologists who study urban legends describe La Llorona as a case of what they call cultural haunting, a figure so deeply embedded in childhood, in the stories told by grandmothers, in the warnings before bedtime, that she becomes real in the only way that matters. She lives in the body, in the way the hairs rise on your arm when you hear unexplained weeping near water, in the instinct to run before you even know why. She is so familiar, so emotionally precise, that the mind will find her in shadows, in sounds, in the shape of grief itself. But here's the thing about cultural hauntings. They don't appear where there is nothing to mourn. La Llorona appears most often in communities experiencing loss, displacement, violence. The grief that has no official memorial, no legal acknowledgement, no name in the history books. She is heard where she is needed. She is not the only one. In Greek mythology, Medea, who drowned her children after her husband Jason abandoned her. Lamia, whose children were murdered by Hera, and who then wandered, wailing, stealing the children of others. In Ireland, the Banshee, a woman whose cries at the water's edge foretell death. In the Bible, Rachel, weeping for her children, who are no more. Across cultures, across centuries, across languages, the same figure appears. A woman, water, grief without end, a cry that never stops. We didn't invent La Llorona. We recognized her. Because every culture that has ever experienced the systematic erasure of its people has produced her. She is the grief that outlasts the body, the wound that refuses to close, the voice that keeps asking, "Who will remember my children?" The 2025 footage from Mexico? Still unverified, still debated. But I'll ask you the same question I asked at the start. Why does she keep coming back? Maybe she keeps coming back because the thing that created her, the loss, the silencing, the injustice, has never actually stopped. And until it does, she will keep crying. Ay, mis hijos, mis hijos. This has been The Grave Matters. If this episode stayed with you, share it, leave a comment. And if you think you know a dark history that deserves a closer look, tell me below. I'll be waiting.